Welcome to Dozochem. This video covers element and ion symbols, determining the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons. If you look up an element on the periodic table, you'll see the symbol of the element. It'll either be a 1 or 2 letter symbol. You'll often see the name of the element written out. You'll see a number with decimal places. That's known as the average atomic mass, and we'll talk about that in a separate video. And then you see a whole number, which is known as the atomic number, and that tells you the number of protons the element has. In the next slide, you're going to see Z in one of the symbols. That refers to the atomic number. For the rest of this video, we're going to save space by using abbreviations. We'll use P for protons, which have a positive charge. We'll use N for neutrons, which are neutral. And we'll use E for electrons, which have a negative charge. In later videos and in a lot of textbooks, they'll abbreviate electrons E minus, but for now we'll just use E as our abbreviation. So if you look in this box, we have a symbol for an element. We'll call it X for now, but that could be any element on the periodic table. If there's a number in the lower left, that's the atomic number, Z. And I wrote optional because even if that number is missing, you can just look on the periodic table and find the whole number in the box, and that'll tell you the atomic number or number of protons in X. The upper left number is known as the mass number, and that's the number of protons plus neutrons. And then in the upper right is where you would put the charge, and that is the difference, protons minus number of electrons. If there's nothing written where the charge is, it means protons and electrons are the same, or your particle is neutral. So if the number of protons is greater than electrons, then you would call the particle a cation, and it would have a positive charge. If the number of electrons is greater than the number of protons, the particle is known as an anion, and it will have a negative charge. So let's do a couple of examples. In these examples, they're going to give you a symbol, and they're going to ask you to figure out the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons. So for the top one, you just have to look at the periodic table, find aluminum, Al, and you'll see that it has 13 protons. There'll be a whole number 13 in the box, and that tells you the number of protons. The upper left number here, the mass number, 27, is protons plus neutrons. So if we take 27 minus the protons, 13, we will get 14 neutrons. And lastly, the charge, plus 3 or 3 plus, and that we know is protons minus electrons, so there has to be 10 electrons, a difference of 3, and more protons than electrons to get a plus 3 or 3 plus charge. For the second one, again, we go to the periodic table, look up Se, and we see there's 34 protons. The mass number, 79, minus the number of protons gives us the number of neutrons, 45. And this time the charge is negative, so we know we're going to have more electrons than protons. We get that charge by doing protons, 34 protons minus the number of electrons. So there has to be 36 electrons so that the difference is 2 and we end up with a negative charge. Now let's go backwards. If they tell you the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons, and you are asked to figure out the symbol in this format with the mass number in the upper left and the charge in the upper right. So for the first one, we go to the periodic table, look up 35, element number 35. We see it's Br. We add protons and neutrons to get the upper left number, the mass number of 81. And the charge we can get by taking protons minus electrons. So in this case, it comes out 1 minus. So you can either write 1 minus as the charge in the symbol, or you can just write minus and leave out the 1. That's the way it's most commonly done. Second example, go to the periodic table, look up element number 26, and so it's Fe. The mass number, upper left number, protons plus neutrons, gives us 55. And the charge is protons minus electrons, 26 minus 23. It's going to give us a 3 plus charge. Difference is 3, and we have more protons than electrons, so it's a plus 3 charge. So final answer, 55 for the mass number in the upper left, 3 plus for the charge in the upper right. So that's it for this video. Good luck.